It's a rule that defines common sense. Don't mix water with electricity. It can kill you. But there is a rare breed of experts who dare to swim against convention and perform a job that most consider downright crazy. Underwater diver welders thrive on the dangers of the deep, where visibility can be zero and deadly hazards the norm. Why? To perform the perfect weld.
You're underwater and playing with electricity. It doesn't seem like a good combination, but it works quite well.
Over the last 30 years, the ocean depths have become vast job sites for the energy and communication industries.
This encompasses everything from pipelines to platforms to subsea wells to inspection, repair, and maintenance. We're working in water depths up to 10,000 feet.
Global Industries is a leader in offshore construction, engineering, and support for the oil and gas industries around the world. And to meet this constant demand, Global Industries requires their welding teams to undergo years of specialized training for all types of offshore environments.
We're here at our Research and Development Training Center here in New Iberia, Louisiana. We're dressing out our diver now, getting ready to get into the tank and do some training, do some welding.
There are two basic forms of underwater welding: wet welding and dry welding. Wet welds are the most common and can be shielded metal arc or stick welds made by a fully submerged diver welder in a wetsuit. The electrode is waterproof and inserted into an electrically charged rubber-encased stinger. Once struck, the electric arc burns just as if it were on dry land, since water is equally conductive. Likewise, the electrode's unique waterproof coating shields the weld from water contamination. But in case you're wondering, his rubber gloves are the only things that stand between the diver welder and electric shock.
If you have a hole in that glove, then you grab a hold of that live stinger, and that will give you a real good one, and you'll taste your fillings in your mouth.
Fortunately, the odds of a fatal shock are slim, because the welding equipment operates on DC current, which is far less dangerous than the ordinary AC current found in a typical home.
Calm check, calm check.
To get the diver welder fully suited, two other diver welders act as his tenders, checking and testing every piece of equipment, including the helmet. Not only does the helmet provide air for the diver welder to breathe, it also serves as a full welding mask, protecting his eyes from the intense arc light.
Right here we have the lens plate, the face lens that a diver will flip down when he's ready to start welding. He'll flip it up when he's finished welding and take a look and see what he's doing.
After the diver welder is suited up, he carefully enters the water and makes his way to the bottom of the tank. From the moment he puts on his helmet, the diver welder is in constant communication with the control room via audio links and a video feed.
Com check 1, 2, 3. How do you get me, John?
156, loud and clear.
All right, set up the weld.
Roger, setting up.
The trainee must not only learn to strike and maintain an arc, but he must also be able to connect and reset all of his equipment, including the electrode. Once in the water, the electrode is inserted into the stinger, which is termed cold, because the control room has not yet turned on the electricity. When the diver is ready to weld, he requests that the current be turned on.
Roger, make it hot.
Roger, making it hot.
Like every surface welder, the diver welder must be a master of concentration and stability.
You're going to have a lot of things that can interfere with what you're doing when you're welding. Just the surge of the ocean can push you around. Some divers like to actually put their hands up, hold the rod itself, because it gives you a lot of feel on it. If you just have the rod in your back, way back here from where you're working, you don't have the feel that you need.
Even fish can become distracting and potentially dangerous obstacles.
Barracuda like to watch. It's a giant fish. It looks like a torpedo with nasty teeth that stick out everywhere. And they like just to kind of hover over your shoulder to see what you're doing all the time. And you're just kind of like, but they're just doing their own thing.
But sometimes a job requires a diver welder to go to extreme depths and stay in that environment for days, even weeks. This is called saturation diving and requires serious courage. It may also require the highly sophisticated technologies of dry underwater welding.
The difference between wet and dry underwater welding, the dry underwater weld will require a habitat. A habitat is lowered down and put in place on the member or on the pipeline that's going to be repaired. Once it's installed, they seal it, and then they actually put the air down to it and pump all the water out of it. This allows that piece to be basically dry now. And so the divers can go down and they'll actually climb up inside the habitat, remove their helmets, and actually be able to go to work and weld that particular item in the dry.
Dry underwater diver welders work in pairs and in 6 to 8 hour shifts. When done, they return to the surface in a diving bell, then enter a second habitat maintained aboard ship. Within these on-ship habitats, they will eat, sleep, and relax before returning to the ocean floor. Both the diving bell and on-ship habitat maintain the same pressure, as if the divers were still 1,000 feet underwater. This is the only efficient and practical way for their bodies to remain adjusted to such extreme pressures. Otherwise, the diver welders may experience the bends and other physical perils, even death. To prepare diver welders for these conditions, Global Industries has built an unparalleled underwater simulator.
This facility that you see behind me right here, it's really the only one of its kind in the United States. We call this the dry pot. We can carry out dry welding scenarios down to 1,000 feet.
A hyperbaric chamber simulates the high pressures the human body must endure when working at great ocean depths. Akin to being an astronaut, a trainee will spend more than a week living in this simulated environment. And conditions are tight.
It's very, very cramped inside there. There's a place for everything to go, and you have to be sure that you put everything in its place before you go and start doing things, because there are a lot of things that can bite you in there.
Unlike the wet welder, the dry welder can perform more than stick welds in his cramped habitat.
I'm standing right in front of the entrance to the dry pot hatch. Royce is doing gas tungsten arc welding. It's also known as TIG welding, which is an old word for tungsten inert gas.
Once his training is finished, the trainee enters this decompression chamber to slowly acclimate his body back to the normal atmosphere.